we're back in the kitchen and it's a very sunny day, and as soon as I step out into the middle, you see how pale my legs are because it's summer and I'm finally wearing shorts. I'm also wearing my Torso Reaper t-shirt. I don't know why this one. And I'm going to be canning pie filling today. Apricot pie filling.
In the great tradition of having a brand new mic, I either breathe very heavily into it because I put it in a bad position, or I forget to turn it on entirely. We're chopping up the apricots. These are apricots from my neighbor's tree. They were kind enough to let me pick as many as I wanted, and so I got plenty. Plenty to not only do these pie fillings, but I'm probably also going to be making some orange and apricot marmalade later on, or possibly a chutney. I haven't quite decided. I've got to do something with a bunch of blood oranges that I have, so stay tuned. What I do is I find that little cleft in the apricot and I go around, and then I can easily pull out the seed. This is a great time to remove any mushy spots, any stems, leaves, things like that, any bad bruises. You know, if you're getting them straight off of the tree, you're doing pretty good. Don't get anything that's fallen onto the ground. Particularly with apricots, they're such a soft, fleshed fruit that things like earwigs and pill bugs and other insects find it very easy to just get inside of them. Also be careful for yellow jackets because they are so soft and juicy that wasps and hornets will just chew right into them and be eating the insides while you're trying to pick them off the tree. That was exciting. If you're not harvesting your own, if you're just purchasing apricots, well, that's an extra expense that you're bringing on yourself, but you can find great ones at your farmer's market, locally grown, organic, pesticide-free. That's all great. Just make sure that you're taking the time to clean those, particularly if you're foraging yourself or if you're getting it pesticide-free and organic, because little creepy crawlies happen when you're growing stuff outside, you know, where the bugs are. But it's pretty easy to clean apricots. I think they're always freestone. Don't quote me on that, but I think plums tend to have a lot of clingstones, but apricots genetically seem to, by and large, be freestone. So it's easy to just slit them open and pop those seeds out. What you're going to want to do is have about 4 pounds. About. It's never exact, because fruit doesn't come in exact sizes.
Now, to make regular pie filling, you need something to thicken it, and you could use flour, cornstarch, tapioca, or even pectin to make that happen, but I'm not going to use any of these. I'm going to use something called clear gel. It's a modified cornstarch, so it's similar to the cornstarch you normally use, but this, when you can with it, it can become shelf safe. Usually when you work with regular cornstarch, it won't do that, but this cornstarch will. I also recommend that you use instructions from the National Center for Home Food Preservation. They've got really good instructions on jams, jellies, pie fillings, pickling. If you've got any questions when it comes to canning, refer to them. Don't use me as your only source, because I'm not exactly going by their recipe. You see, they have a recipe for peach pie filling, but nothing for apricot pie filling. And one of the main differences is peaches, when you slice them, they stay as slices. Apricots, when you get them to the peak of freshness, they are smooshy, and basically once you quarter them, they turn to juice pretty quickly. So the process that they have for peaches is you slice the peaches and then you boil the peaches for 1 minute each time, basically blanching them, and then you add them back in to the clear gel stuff. Apricots won't hold up to that. There would be nothing to pull out from the boiling water if I were to do that. So I've got to modify my pie filling. But other things that they ask for is a little bit of water, lots and lots of sugar, and jarred lemon juice. And the reason why they want this is not all lemons are equal. Some are more acidic than others, but if you're getting it out of a bottle, you are getting something that is controlled. It's got a standardized acidity level, and you won't end up with something that's not acidic enough. It'll be just right if you use lemon juice. So I'm gonna do that. Some people use apple cider vinegar. I think that would make the flavor a little bit too off, so I'm gonna stick with the lemon juice. I might use some regular lemon juice just to brighten up the flavor, but the main juice that I'm gonna be using is from the bottle. Okay, so I've got all of my ingredients. I've got my clear gel, which I need 3/4 cup of. I've got 3/4 cup water. I've got 1 cup sugar. I've got lemon juice, both for the flavor and for the acidity. I've got my spices. You know, you could just put cinnamon in. Cinnamon is pretty typical in a peach or an apricot pie. I like to combine peaches and apricots. I find that the interesting double flavor is good. And I also don't like just plain spices. I like interesting spices. So this is my chai spice mix. It is cinnamon and cloves and nutmeg and mace and allspice and cardamom and yeah, any spice that you can imagine going into a sweet dish is in there. So I'm gonna use that instead of just plain cinnamon. I've got 3 pounds and 11 ounces of apricot sliced up. Good. Yep, 3/8. So 3 pounds, 8 ounces of apricots and mess, because that's how I roll. Hardware. I figure I'm just going to be making a couple quarts. Maybe have some leftover for a little in my fridge dish that I'll just spread on toast. And when it comes to the other hardware, I had to pull out all of my pots. Usually, I like using my pasta strainer for canning. And this is the one that I would do my finished process in, and I would just use my handy jar lifter to set my jars in there and then pull them out. Problem is, these jars are too tall, and you need to have about 1 inch of water above the top of the jar in order to process it properly. So this is actually going to be the one I cook in. I had to go up to my cabinets for the big guns, and this is going to be the one that I'm actually going to can in. I've got a little spacer down at the bottom so the jars are not directly on the base of the pan. So that's how I'm going to finish processing these, is in my big pot. I've got my little pot for actually cooking the stuff. My littlest pot is there making oatmeal right now in a double boiler, but eventually I'm going to use it to heat up the lids for my jars, because this little gasket right here needs to get warmed up slightly, not totally boiling, but slightly warm, and then you gently screw them on with these. I'll show you the whole thing, and then you can process your jars. Okay, so it's time for me to assemble all the stuff. It goes in a certain sequence. If I had peaches or apples or something that had more structure, I would blanch those 1 minute at a time and pull them out and then hold them hot and then make the clear gel stuff. But because I don't have that, I'm just gonna make the clear gel and add in the fruit directly. Or maybe I'm gonna do the fruit and add the clear gel to that, because then there will be more liquid. I think I'll do it that way. Yeah. This is a work as I go thing. Okay, so I have all of the sugar, clear gel, and water added to the fruit right now. I've basically combined the blanching the fruit for 1 minute each and then holding it with the making the clear gel phase, just because there was no other way for me to do that cooking of these apricots because they're so soft. I'm going to add in the juice of 1 lemon and half of a blood orange for a little bit of color and flavor. This is the fresh stuff. I'm adding it in now so that it gets a chance to be cooked and pasteurized. And then I'm going to add in the lemon juice a little bit later after this has nicely gelled up. You'll notice that there's a couple little dark pieces in here. I had 1 white flesh, dark-skinned nectarine, and I just decided to add it in with the apricots because, well, there was only the one, and it wasn't in too pretty a shape, and I figured, well, you know what, it'll just join the pie filling. One of the tricks with clear gel is you have to really kind of keep stirring it, because you'll get a layer at the bottom that has cooked and turned to gel, and then the top won't have made it. It kind of insulates itself as it cooks. So you got to keep scraping the bottom. I recommend using a wooden spoon because you know it's not going to melt, but you also know that it's not going to scratch up your pot too terribly bad. Okay, I've just tossed in some of my spice. Now listen to this. See those big bubbles and stuff like that? It is thickened to the point where it's kind of a gloopy lava consistency, and that's good. It means it's time for me to add in my lemon juice. It's time for me to heat up my jar lids and get my funnels ready, but I have to keep this stirring as well. Where did I set down my lemon juice? Here it is. Lemon juice. Give that 1 minute stirring while I find my funnel. Gonna need to dip that in the boiling water to pasteurize it. I've already cleaned my jars, so yep, we are there. Finish up that minute with the lemon juice. Okay, that is it. Turn off the heat. Move this bad boy over. Okay. Let's see how I can do this with a tripod in my way. So exciting. So, got my funnel straight out of the boiling water. I've got my lids hanging out in this thing of hot water, getting nice and soft, not too soft. And now I need a ladle, not a potato masher. There we go. Now I ladle this hot mess into the jars, trying to drop as little as possible. Okay, this reused jar, I'm gonna let it cool down a little bit and then it's gonna get popped straight into the refrigerator. These guys though, they've got to be processed a little bit more before I can put them into my cupboards. Looks like about an inch of head space. Now I find this clear gel stuff does expand quite a bit when you process it. So just be aware of that. Make sure that you've got enough headspace. Minimum 1 inch, don't go more than 2 inches. Come on. Come on. I don't want to touch these with my fingers because I don't want to get any goobies from my hands into this. Okay, got to make sure that the lip of the jar is clean. And then you put the lid on. Make sure the lip of the jar is clean. And you put the lid on. Okay. Now, I'm not screwing these on super tight. I'm basically just getting them on the threads, and then as soon as my fingers start slipping, I let it go. Because we need air to escape from this. These are going to end up boiling, and steam needs to escape when this expands, and then when it cools down, these will suck a vacuum and be sealed. So when you turn it, just go until it catches and call it good. It's not even finger tight. It's a little bit less than that. Like if I just hair's breadth and then it's loose. Okay. Now it's time to put these jars into the boiling water. For how long? Well, it depends on how high you are. I am above 1,000 feet elevation, so I've got to go for 35 minutes. If you're at sea level, you would go for just 30 minutes. And if you were way up in the Rockies, ooh, you do even more time. Okay. Get those nice and in the center. Put the lid on. Set my timer. Time for some Scooby snacks. Good.
Now you've got 30 minutes. It's a great time to clean up your kitchen. And, usually it takes me 15 to 20 minutes to clean up, but I'm going to do an extra deep clean because with all that steam coming up from that pot, I can wipe off all the counters and cabinets up above because they're getting basically steam softened. Any of the normal outer goobies of grease and things like that accumulate when you're canning. You've just got steam boiling up in your kitchen. It's a great time to clean those cabinets. And I will still end up running out of things to clean in my kitchen, even if I mop the floor from all the stickies that I've just caused. So don't leave your kitchen. Don't do it. You're going to think you can because you have a timer set, but don't. Really. You should stay in your kitchen. I don't know. Start making sandwiches, baking cookies, anything. Just don't leave the kitchen. Don't do it.
All right. So pulled them out of the hot water. The lids still have a little bit of water on them. But what I'm waiting for is for the top little bumps to depress in as it pulls a vacuum when it cools down. I'm gonna tighten down the rings. There we go. These jars are so stinking hot. Okay. There we go. And now I'm gonna wait for these to pull vacuum. If they pull vacuum, it means that I've done it right. They can go up in the cupboard. If they don't pull a vacuum, that means that I processed them wrong and they are not shelf safe, and my choices are reprocess it, where I take off the lids, throw out these lids, put on new sterilized ones and reboil for 35 minutes, or I just move it to my refrigerator or freezer and use it in a timely manner. So I'm hoping these pull vacuum. And we'll check on them in a little bit. Oh man, there it is. I had just turned off the camera when the first one popped in, and I just managed to catch the second one. Yes, they pulled vacuum. Once these have cooled down, I'll put them up in my cupboard. I find that a quart is about 4 cups, which is enough to fill a full pie. So I've got 2 full apricot pies, or I can do half and half with maybe some peaches and apricot. I find that to be really tasty. So when the peaches come in, which will be in another week or 2, apricots, they happen weeks before peaches in this area. So when the peaches come in, I can slice them up thin, lay them into a pie, cover them with this apricot jelly mixture, and have fresh peach cobbler or peach pie with that tastiness of all of the sweetness and spice and gel from these apricot pies. So we are done. Ta-da! I also recommend that you use instructions from the National Center for Is this sunlight too intense? Does it make the sequins on my pants too shiny? Let's find out.